Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your choosing our theater. To make this experience more enjoyable for everyone, we hope you'll refrain from talking during the show. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
All right, let's go as deep as it gets. What if the government isn't real, not as we know it, but a grand psychological theater? What if the presidents, the prime ministers, the elections, the scandals, the wars, the bills passed, and the so-called checks and balances are all scripted? A movie we're inside of, actors on stage reciting lines to maintain a fragile illusion? Now picture this. You were never meant to believe in truth, only in control disguised as truth. Foundations of the illusion. Imagine a group, ancient, hidden, maybe not even fully human anymore, who realized long ago that the greatest resource wasn't gold or oil. It was belief, not faith in God or in oneself, but belief in a system you die to defend, even if you've never seen the gears. They understood that if they could control the imagination of the people, they could control their actions, not through chains or armies, but through narrative. They built a false world within the real one, wrapped in institutions and media, and we were born into it. Never taught to question the architecture of the game. Actors in power. What if world leaders are trained performers, selected not for intelligence or empathy, but for psychological influence? They're media trained to stir emotions, to appear flawed and relatable, to mimic the spectrum of human morality. Their failures and scandals are plot devices, tension builders. When the public loses faith in one party, another savior archetype emerges. It's all narrative cycling. The work, consume, obey loop. Now ask, why work? Why pay? Why stay in line? Because you fear instability, you fear collapse, you fear being the one who steps outside the hive and gets stung. But what if that fear was manufactured? They've weaponized your own survival instinct. You work not for purpose, but to chase temporary peace. And while you're clocked in, clocked out, taxed, numbed, and chasing time, you unknowingly power the machine. A machine that doesn't build anything anymore. It just feeds itself, like a snake looping endlessly to swallow its own tail. Mass hypnosis and perception control. Television, school, religion, internet, all standardized delivery systems for the script. It's not about hiding the truth, it's about making truth irrelevant. They flood you with so much narrative, so many choices, that you lose the ability to tell what's real. You outsource your discernment to experts. You follow the herd because it's safer than thinking alone. They've created meta-lies, truths built atop untruths, so layered that if you ever dig too deep, you collapse under the weight of your own disbelief. And they know that. That's why conspiracy theorists are mocked. Not because they're wrong, but because they risk unplugging others from the matrix. Hath the power of fear as currency. Now think deeper. What is power without obedience? They need your fear. It's the battery. The news doesn't inform you, it harvests you. Crisis after crisis, endless threats, manufactured enemies, artificial scarcity. A system just stable enough to survive, just broken enough to feel unsafe. This balance is intentional. You're too scared to revolt, too exhausted to dream, and somewhere in the deepest part of your subconscious, they keep planting this whisper, you need us, without us there is only chaos. But what if that's the final lie? So who are they? Not lizards, not men in black, not aliens or elites. Ideas. Ideas so old they became sentient. Archetypes of control, the personification of greed, power, hierarchy, and fear. Maybe these things possess people, or maybe they manifest through them. But it's not about names. It's about the spirit of domination that has worn many masks throughout time. They don't need to be in every room. They just need to control the rules of the room. They don't kill rebels, they redirect them. They don't silence truth, they drown it in noise. The exit isn't out there, it's inward. The only escape isn't through revolution, it's through awakening. By remembering that systems only live as long as you believe in them. By realizing that the mind is the last frontier of colonization. Once you reclaim it, the whole game glitches. And if even 10% of humanity did that, the spell breaks.
I'm sorry. Just kill my...
No, don't do that,
Jesus.
As a scientist, I was never a believer in conspiracy theories. I believe Al-Qaeda was responsible for the 9/11 attacks. I believe we landed on the moon. And I believe Oswald shot JFK. Okay. No, to believe our government covered up these events requires proof. A conspiracy theory, like any theory, needs proof. So that's the first question I'd ask me. Where's your proof?
Okay, I want everybody right now to breathe. I want you to breathe in and out. I want you to breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. I want to start from your breath and start from your breathing. What we need to do is indiscriminately bomb women and children. We need to indiscriminately bomb women and children right now. Imagine you're a drone. Feel the freedom of being a drone. Feel the freedom of being a drone. I want you to focus on your breath. Focus on your breath and feel the freedom of being a drone. Where would you fly if you were a drone? Iran? I think you'd fly right to Iran. You'd fly to Iran and eliminate their nuclear capability. You'd do it before you even had the chance to find a diplomatic solution. I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe in and out right now. I want you to imagine an apartment complex. There's children playing soccer outside. Now it's gone. It's gone because there were bad people in it. Now they're all gone. Now it's rubble. And I know it's sad, but it's necessary. Collateral damage. I want you to say 2 words. Collateral damage. Focus on your breathing. Focus on your breathing. Manifest the reality you want to see. Do people from Gaza still live there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're gone. Where are they? We don't know. Focus on your breathing. In and out. In and out. It's an interesting archetype of person to be. This is what I mean. You can't pinpoint people anymore.
There are no heroes. No villains. Just people with different agendas.
The devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Daredevil must die.
Rage is a wildfire. Out of control, therefore useless. Just like you laying there. Someday it's gonna come down to you or the other guy. Now get out.
He authorized Sidney Gottlieb to spray germs into the fog in San Francisco Harbor. The point was to try to infect 800,000 people in San Francisco with this germ just to see how many would get sick. And they thought that the germ would sit heavily in the fog and would linger in the air longer that way to infect more people. Now remember, nobody knew that this was happening. And I don't mean just nobody in San Francisco. I mean nobody. The CIA director didn't know it was happening. The president didn't know it was happening. This was Alan Dulles and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. So what happened? They spray this poison into the air, and 11 people got identical urinary tract infections within the next 3 days. Now, we know that these were specific to the germ because these urinary tract infections included bleeding, but with blood that had crystals in it. Doctors were so taken aback by the fact that this wasn't just a urinary tract infection, but these people were discharging crystals from their bodies, that they actually got together in doctors' groups and talked about it. That what in the world is this? Is this some kind of a new disease? And then like magic, it just went away. And it went away because it was just a CIA experiment. In 1951, Allen Dulles becomes the director of the CIA, just like he planned to.
This is why it becomes so important to understand the novelty and the viability of neuroscience as being leveraged as weapons. We then have the use of nanoparticulate agents, aerosolizable nanomaterials that can be breathed in and disrupt blood flow or neurological network activity, that can be used as an in-close weapon, or perhaps that can be used as a more broad weapon of disruption and or destruction. We also have the capability to utilize nanomaterials to get electrodes into a head and to create a vast array of viable sensors and transmitters. This is DARPA's N-cubed program, next generation non-invasive neuromodulation, utilizing these techniques and technologies to create vast arrays of implantable electrodes that need not be put into the brain surgically, that are then able to read from the brain and write into the brain remotely in real time. And there is a rapid pace. The prizes are big, economically, in terms of power as well. But there are risks and hazards. Yeah, there are conventions that are out there, but the question then arises, are these conventions not just necessary, but are they sufficient? These international signatory treaties have suggested that no, they're not. They're really not keeping their finger on the pulse of the rapid development of brain sciences, not only within the United States and its allied nations, but internationally. And sometimes in programs that utilize commercial veiling to be able to then hide behind in terms of what's being made available to make their military intelligence personnel better, and to develop a whole arsenal of weapons, both kinetically and non-kinetically, that can then decrement the performance of competitors and adversaries.
Who actually runs the world?
I think
it's about time you got here. You're late.
I don't even know how I got here. I'm cool.
Anyway, so how do you like being dead?
It kind of blows wiener. I don't know. It's not good.
Right. Well, do you remember your unfinished business, music boy?
Oh, right. The album. I kind of got sidetracked.
Doesn't matter. You may ask 3 questions, and they'll be answered. However, ask the wrong questions, and your resurrection will be denied, spirit.
Okay, so I can ask, like, any question.
Yes. 2 out of 3 questions remaining.
Oh, what is my purpose?
To deliver the disc. You knew this. Last question.
Okay, who's the guy that's saying he's me?
Finally.
You are but one half of one soul. For balance to be restored, you must merge once again.
Hello?
Is it time already?
Hi, I'm Ted Rack, and I'm sick and tired of scientists telling us mean, bad facts about our world in confusing ways. So I have a show now, or I have these folks come on and make them tell us their terrible message in a way that's easier to swallow. This is, come on now, you expect me to believe that?
To the Gaza Strip. From this legislative assembly to the United Nations, Ireland is sending its most talented men to do the world's most important work, the work of peace. In a sense, this export of talent is in keeping with an historic Irish role, which opposed the spread of nuclear arms to any nation. And I pledge to you that the United States of America will do all in its power to achieve such an agreement and fulfill your resolution.
Why Israel is America's greatest ally. In 1967, the USS Liberty was attacked ruthlessly. The ship was bombarded from all directions, sea and air. 34 Americans were killed, and over 100 were injured. What did Israel do to support their greatest ally? Turns out, they were the ones who attacked the ship. So wait, Israel were the culprits of that heinous crime and suffered no repercussions? Not just that, but they still remain America's greatest ally. Really makes you wonder who runs the world. Leave a like and follow if you'd like to discover some more historic facts.
And then when Iran is destroyed, then Israel gets to do whatever they want. There'll be nobody left to oppose them.
I hate to break it to you, but there is no big lie. There is no system. The universe is indifferent.
Play the fucking music, Will!
Let's go, buddy.
Let's go! Rise and shine, you silly motherfucker! Rain, snow, shine! A true warrior grinds! Are you a warrior? Bitch, I'm the...
You bring up Adolf Hitler, it gets fucking quiet.
You don't have to support either. I don't need to support Islam, and I don't need to support a Jewish ethno-state either, Ridvan, that has prophecies for Antichrist it's trying to fulfill. I don't need to support either. Totally unnecessary for me to support either with my tax dollars. Totally unnecessary for me to support either in order to stop Islam. By the way, I just am going to point out the historic standard. Israel hasn't been around for very long. The reestablished nation of Israel, and the West has been kicking the shit out of Muslims for about 1,000 years. Just want to point that out. About 1,000 years, kicking total shit out of Islamics all over the place when it comes to them spreading their ideology. This includes when they were encroaching in Europe, which they did. They got thrown out of there, right? I would say the destabilizing agent inside the Middle East, you could make the argument, could be Israel for why there's so many of these displaced Muslim refugees moving into Western nations to begin with. You can easily make that argument. Now, would I? I don't even think that's necessary. Maybe that is a step too far. But the point is that it still is a false binary choice. And that's all he gives you. Never, ever trust the argument of a person who says, if you don't support this, that means you support that. That's pure rhetoric. It's illogical. It's fallacious. Every argument from Ridvan was fallacious. He said he addressed my arguments. I wrote them premise form. Never addressed a single argument. Ever. When I asked him, and I want you to take this last thing away with my closing, I asked Ridvan point blank, do you think that we should support the nation of Israel even knowing that 30% of the population there and growing, right, wants Antichrist? And his answer point blank, and I'll clip it and put it out for those who don't believe me, was yes. Unequivocally, yes. Well, I have a different point of view. No, I'm not going in any capacity to support Antichrist or Islam. I can have my cake and eat it too.
What one has to understand is that from the day the Constitution was adopted right up to today, the folks who profit from privately owned central banks, as Madison called them, the money changers, have fought a running battle for control over who gets to print America's money.
Why is who prints the money so important? Think of money as just another commodity. If you have a monopoly on a commodity that everyone needs, everyone wants, and nobody has enough of, there are lots of ways to make a profit, and also exert tremendous political influence. That's what this battle is all about. Throughout the history of the United States, the money power has gone back and forth between Congress and some sort of privately owned central bank.
The Founding Fathers knew the evils of a privately owned central bank. First of all, they had seen how the privately owned British central bank, the Bank of England, had run up the British national debt to such an extent that Parliament had been forced to place unfair taxes on the American colonies.
In fact, as we'll see later, Ben Franklin claimed that this was the real cause of the American Revolution. Most of the Founding Fathers realized the potential dangers of banking and feared bankers' accumulation of wealth and power. Jefferson put it this way:
I sincerely believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs.
That succinct statement of Jefferson is, in fact, the solution to all our economic problems today. It bears repeating. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. James Madison, the main author of the Constitution, agreed. Interestingly, he called those behind the central bank scheme money changers. Madison strongly criticized their actions.
History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money and its issuance.
The battle over who gets to issue our money has been the pivotal issue throughout the history of the United States. Wars are fought over it, depressions are caused to acquire it. Yet after World War I, this battle was rarely mentioned in newspapers or history books. Why? By World War I, the money changers, with their dominant wealth, had seized control of most of the nation's press. Throughout U.S. history, this battle over who gets the power to issue our money has raged. In fact, it's changed hands back and forth 8 times since 1764. Yet this fact has virtually vanished from public view for over 3 generations behind a smokescreen emitted by Fed cheerleaders in the media. Until we stop talking about deficits and government spending and start talking about who controls how much money we have, it's all just a big shell game, a complete and utter deception. It won't matter if you pass an ironclad amendment to the Constitution mandating a balanced budget. Our situation is only going to get worse until we root out the cause at its source.
By the way, do you know that Ronald Reagan is a terrible human being who beats his mother and, you know, makes it with dogs and things like that? Right.
How far are we from the state of 1984?
How far are we from it? About 30 years behind us.
It's begun.
Oh, sure. It started in 1954, something like that. The House Un-American Activities Committee, Senator Joseph McCarthy, Tonkin Bay, Vietnam. We've been in it for at least 30 years.
And what kind of concern does this bring to you?
Well, as not just as a writer, but as a person who has to live in the world and as an observer of the human condition, I get more and more alarmed every year, and eventually you begin to realize people are looking at you as if you're the specter at the banquet, because I'm forever doom crying. But
when was the last time you personally felt Big Brother?
I guess when, well, the most obvious one was when Ronald Reagan was governor of this state. He had me on his subversive list. They had my phone tapped. And, I caught him doing it. You see, that's the only thing that'll ever save us, is that most of these clowns are so incredibly inept that they would fall over their own feet.
Now, how did you catch them tapping your phone? Did you have one of those little screening devices?
No, that was late. This is really one of them. See, when I get up in the morning, I go right to the typewriter and start working. I make my coffee and I go to the typewriter. So most of the day I spend in a bathrobe, which is not Hugh Hefnerism. It's easier than getting dressed. So I'm sitting at the typewriter, and I had to empty my wastebasket, and I had made a phone call a minute before, and I heard all this clicking and voices on it, and I thought, oh, the phone company's mucking up again. Something terrible is happening. Took the wastebasket outside to empty it into the garbage can, and I see guys in a truck in a bucket up at the telephone pole, and I look at the line they're working on, and it's going into my house. And I thought, no, surely this is paranoia. Who would mess with a little fish like me? So I go inside and I made a few phone calls, and sure enough, there was clicking, and I hear voices. And at one point, I hear a guy saying, "Oh, is that it, Bite? You got it?" You know? And I thought, no. So I went outside.
Detective work, yeah.
And, and I go outside and I say, "Hi, fellas, what you doing?" And they do Porky Pig at me for a while, and finally I said, "You're tapping my line, aren't you?" And they swore nay, and so then I called in one of those sweep services, and they checked the drain on the line. And they came back and they said to me, after $400 worth of sweeping, they said, "You have enough power being drained out of you to raise the Titanic." So thereafter, knowing that the line was tapped, I did also, every time I would order, like, groceries or something, I would say, "Yeah, send me up 2 pizzas and some garlic." First of all, we have to be as smart as we can be. We tend to be a very lazy and slovenly species.
Why? What causes that in our society?
You really want me to tell you?
Oh, yeah.
Television.
Wait a minute, this medium we're on right now?
That one there, yeah. That's it.
What does television do to us?
Well, television permits us not to have to think. It gives us all kinds of answers, and has for the last 40 years. For instance, we talk about violence on television, and yet there are entire generations of kids who have grown up believing that the basic solution to any problem is a punch in the mouth.
Or a pistol.
A pistol. And then we wonder why everybody's violent. You go to the movies and you see a film in which somebody has been, like Death Wish, somebody has been brutalized for 3/4 of the movie, and finally he picks up a machine gun and wipes out everybody in sight, and the audience applauds madly. This is a playing to the beast in us and to an inarticulate vocabulary that is best punctuated by a punch in the mouth. Also, for the first time in the history of the world, television has provided us with what could be called a universal curriculum, meaning that a child in Botswana-land and a child in Bayonne, New Jersey, both get the same impression of male, female, rich, poor, old, young, labor, capital. They get these stereotypes, which have to be squeezed down into about 13 seconds of TV time.
Okay, you're a writer. How can we change this? When you're writing a script, you've just written a film, you've written television shows, do you inject that humanity in the script?
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I stopped writing TV.
This is about incompetency. It's not about ideology, or it's not about.
Oh my goodness! We're just going to get some help here for Cameron. Let me come back to Lydia while we get some help for Cameron here. Lydia,
Satan has put a spell over me when I sleep that I'm seeing these demons, and I see legions of demons, and I'll fight them with my fists, and then I would fight them all night. I'd hit them and they fall down, hit them and they fall down, but then I'd wake up covered in sweat, and then I'd go back to sleep, and then it would be just beautiful women trying to tempt me to cheat on my wife in my dreams, and this happened for 2 weeks in a row, and so that's when I knew that this is not normal. This is not something that has ever happened to me, and so that this is a spiritual attack. So I went to the church asking for prayer, and the dreams receded after I asked many Christians for prayer.
And the remaining Jedi will be hunted down and defeated.
The attempt on my life has left me scarred, but I assure you, my resolve has never been stronger. In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire and secure society.
La pace sia con tutti voi.
What is a female?
Well, now you're going deep.
Are you crazy, man? How the fuck?
Butt fuck fine ladies. Will I choke hold a bitch? Well, maybe. I
have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No. That couldn't have happened.
We have missed the forest through the trees with Jeffrey Epstein. They want us to focus on the pedo shit, which is only this smaller chunk of a much larger international criminal organization that Jeffrey Epstein was a part of. Redacted just dropped an interview with Mel K. I had to listen to it 3 times. This Mel K, investigative journalist, has gone so far down the Jeffrey Epstein rabbit hole that...
Well, he's dead.
So, you know, in general, you always have to be careful.
And, you know,
Look, Fuckstick, I'm incredibly busy, so why don't you get the hell out of here before I snap your dick off and jam it into your ass. No, not you, Ellen.
Cause I'm an island boy.
Child sex offenders will now be locked up indefinitely under the toughest new laws in the country. From tomorrow, pedophiles who reoffend in SA will automatically be jailed for life unless they can prove they're no longer a threat to society.
What that mean, nigga?
Those that were concerned about the civil liberties of offenders, this government will come down on the side of victims every single day of the week. The vile monsters who offend sexually against children deserve to rot in jail.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
Even if offenders are released, they'll be monitored for the rest of their lives.
The crimes and the amount of money is just mind-boggling. Because Jeffrey Epstein never had a job. And like, check this out. Like, she lays out that Jeffrey Epstein was a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Group, and the Rockefeller Institute. These are the big movers and shakers in the international money world. Jeffrey Epstein had a net wealth of just what they've uncovered of $500 million, and he never had a job. Somehow he had an office at Harvard for 20 years and was a major funder of Harvard and MIT. Jeffrey Epstein owned his own bank. JP Morgan, and this is even crazier, JP Morgan handled a shit ton of Jeffrey Epstein's money, and somewhere in there, JP Morgan paid a settlement out to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein to the tune of $365 million. Why would JP Morgan need to pay off Jeffrey Epstein's victims? Because that was just one little part of it. As this Mel K lays out, the Lolita Express and these flight logs, they are a distraction. They are not the main part of what Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. The flight logs, first off, there's no runway on Jeffrey Epstein's island. The Lolita Express wasn't a single plane. It was a service he was offering, and he would borrow multiple people's planes. He was borrowing planes all over the place. Like billionaires borrow each other's planes and fly them around privately like they're not using them. I don't know how that works. I'm not a fucking billionaire. These people were all involved in some massive blackmail, power, money laundering. Dude, she even ties in USAID. There are USAID payments to Jeffrey Epstein. Pam Bondi lets out yesterday that they have tens of thousands of video of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, well, and it's not just Jeff Epstein. It's going to be all these different people. But these are just, the pedo shit is just the tip of the iceberg. That is the blackmail. That is the power over these billionaires. What she lays out is Jeffrey was running guns, drugs, money, power, and human trafficking. All of it, all tied into one. Jeffrey Epstein was rubbing elbows with all the biggest people all around the world. This is a worldwide criminal organization that Jeffrey was involved in, and thus why they had to, because he didn't hang himself, And it's like, how many properties did Jeffrey Epstein own? The dude had Florida, New York, one in New Mexico, a house in Paris, a house in England, a house in the Virgin Islands. And everybody was not flying to his island. They all showed up there on yachts. They want you to focus on the flight logs because that's not how they were getting there. They all got to the island on yachts and boats and by a helicopter. So there again, that flight log thing is a distraction. Everybody's all, we want this list. That list is not going to get actually to the heart of the corruption that we all seek here. And this goes to the point of, well, why aren't we seeing something? Like, we're looking at a massive criminal RICO case here. And the pedo shit is just the tip of the iceberg that brings you to these deeper crimes. And now you've got to dig through that and hunt all that down. Like, dude, a fraud case takes a year to build. What about a fraud case with hundreds and hundreds of people on it? And how do you sort out the people that were simply in pictures with Jeffrey Epstein, but had, there's plenty of innocent people in there. I know that's hard to believe, but there are. Even Brett Weinstein has said, there's pictures of me with Jeff Epstein. He met Jeff Epstein, and he was like, and the dude was a total snake. He's like, he could tell. He was not a man of means. He was a creation, as Brett Weinstein. He said he was a creation, like an intel agency. He wasn't smart enough to be what he was claiming to be because he didn't know fuck all about finances. The dude was just a fucking blackmail guy. But he is the thread that ties all of it together. I think all the fraud that you're seeing Doge uncover, it's all tied together. Epstein, Doge, USAID, USIP, the World Bank, IMF, WEF, it's all in one big giant thing, and Jeffrey Epstein is what ties it all together. We're all looking for some You know, a lot of people are like, I want to see some arrests for this pedo shit. Like, dude, I don't think that that's the biggest part of it here. I don't think that's what will really bring down this whole house of cards. These crimes are so much deeper. You're talking the funding of terrorism, running of guns and drugs. And Mel K says Epstein was involved all the way back to Iran-Contra. And Iran-Contra was really the first time the CIA's gun running went public. They were selling guns to Iran to then use that money to fund rebels in Nicaragua. That's what Iran-Contra was, and they got busted. They got caught in it. And somehow nothing ever changed. They just made, oh yeah, that was the only time. No, that wasn't the only time. And they've been doing it ever fucking since for the last 50 fucking years, people. We are in a revolution. We are in an information revolution. And everybody's saying like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. Well, no, because now, we're here talking about it right now. And that is what changes everything. We have to talk about all of this to educate the public so that we can all share in this outrage together and finally get some justice. And for people that are like, oh, I already fucking knew that. Well, congratulations. But guess what? Everybody needs to learn about it. It needs to be like, the Jeffrey Epstein shit needs to be as common as Kim Kardashian. And everybody needs to understand that this is not just child pornography and human trafficking. No, it is much larger. Guns, drugs, all the worst shit and all the evil in the world. Jeffrey Epstein is that tie, and how we unravel it all the way back to government corruption, blackmail, money laundering, guns, drugs, all of it. All the worst shit in the world. That is what Jeffrey Epstein represents, and he is our one best chance at tying it all together and pulling it all apart. Educate yourselves. Go watch that shit on Redacted. I had to watch it 3 times, and I didn't even get it all. There's so much shit there, like holy fuck. But there is a much larger forest through the trees of pedos. Good luck to you all. Welcome to the revolution, and long live this beautiful republic.
Like, what is going on? Yeah. So there's so many of these fucking social distractions.
What's up, Darth News?
That are in our face all day long.
Have you ever been frustrated making videos
about everything?
See if Jesus can strike lightning right in the middle of that field, because it's already struck and they say lightning never strikes twice. So I'm going to see if Jesus Christ or God, or I know they're in 3, but whoever controls that, can make lightning strike right there in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No way! No way! I just got that on camera!
This is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
This is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
Now, looking at that picture, if I said, hey, this is the area of the moon where the Apollo 11 was to land, most of us wouldn't think anything of it. Most of us would go, okay, cool. Not even realizing you're looking at a black and white photograph of Arizona. It was blown up. If you don't believe me, you can go on Google Earth today and still see what's left of it after 50 years. Okay? Go to that location right there. Got Buzz Aldrin standing there in one of the test sites. See the mountain range behind him? Well, what do you know? It's on the moon, too. There he is in the corner, hopping along, like a bunny rabbit at half-speed film. These guys are all in probably, late 20s, early 30s, I'd guess. I don't know how old they were when they went there. But I know how I would be if I just got back from the moon. I'd still be floating, man. I was on the moon, man! I'd been jazzed out of my mind for the rest of my life. These guys look like their dogs just got shot. And they told that their parents aren't really their parents. They're adopted stepchildren. I mean, seriously, Santa Claus isn't real. I mean, their whole life is shattered. I mean, you look at these guys. They look like, to me, they look like good, honest, patriotic men that have been forced to lie.
It was our pleasure to have participated in one great adventure. It's an adventure that took place not just in the month of July, but rather one that took place in the last decade. The flight, as you know, started promptly. And I think that was characteristic of all the events of the flight. The Saturn gave us one magnificent ride, both into Earth orbit and on a trajectory to the moon.
Das ist doch alles Bullshit. Das ist auch einfach too much.
I just got my Doge stimulus check and I donated it directly to the Chinese Communist Party.
A historic mission comes to a successful end. Overnight, the Blue Ghost spacecraft landed on the moon's surface. This is the first image taken this morning after that landing, a joint mission between Firefly Aerospace and NASA. The craft will now look for signs of water on the moon's south pole. It will also conduct dozens of experiments over the next 2 weeks.
You mean people are joining up with them? Most of us just sell out right away. Then all of a sudden we get promoted. Our bank accounts get bigger. We start buying new houses, cars. Perfect, isn't it? We'll do anything to be rich.
Look around the environment we live in. Carbon dioxide, fluorocarbons, and methane have increased since 1958. Earth is being acclimatized. They are turning our atmosphere into their atmosphere.
What do these things want, and why are they here? It's in their best interests. They're free enterprisers. The Earth is just another developing planet. Their third world.
We are like a natural resource to them. Deplete the planet, move on to another. They want benign indifference. They want us drugged. We could be pets. We could be food. But all we really are is livestock.
Compliments of the company.
Royalty inside my DNA.
You're verbose. Good thing you didn't write the first appendix. It would have burst.
I got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this, wish out you a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate, then off your fucking head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got.
It is the case that every day, even some of the worst ones, are gifts. They are gifts. Every day is a gift from a creator who loves you and wants the best for you. When you get into the weeds and you start thinking, what do we do? What do we do? What's going to happen? It's easy to black pill because it is such a complicated problem. Everything is interdependent and constantly evolving, not to mention rigged, that a solution is hard to be seen. But in terms of your actual life, when you close Twitter and you go back to reality, you have people, you have the air outside, you have just being here, just being alive. Like there's a whole world out there. There's a whole world out there, guys. And it is the one we have. It's the very best. It's unbelievable. It's filled with joy and opportunity. It's the best thing. It's the only thing you have. Probably should all enjoy it to the max. Live it to the max, bro. Yeah. And yeah, Indian people do stink. Okay, we'll get this going. I gotta figure out this chair situation. This thing is not the one. I probably need an actual chaise lounge thing where I'm like laying down.
This message is for everyone that's on the list. I'm on the list. And, you know, it's crazy, like, accepting your fate and pretty much being like, don't go to the next location. But then there are still, like, people here that are like, you're absolutely nuts. None of this is going on. It's like the biggest gaslight of my life. Like I've literally already accepted my fate, you know? Like, I'm sure it's a lot to struggle with if thinking of, like, what can happen if you're on the list. We know, but other people are just hunky-dory over here. Like, America is great. And I'm just like, I'm on the list. I'm going on a trip to a camp, and hopefully not, because I don't want to go to the second place. But it's interesting to live in this reality.
What's crazy about Ye uploading this song is if he made a song called Hail Satan, that would be fine. They would promote it in the industry. They'd have Lil Nas X lap dancing on Satan, talking about, we love the devil. Yeah, end censorship. Let's go.
Okay, how many people here are lucky enough to be members of the Nordic subgroup of the Aryan race? Can I see some hands? Yeah, it's tough being a white man these days. It's tough, I tell you. Folks, I'm so white, during the riots, I went out and bought a television. Is this thing on?
Sometimes I let things be said where it's like I don't fact check them, but sometimes I just forget, you know? I'm not a fucking wizard either. You know, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. So I work hard at it, though. You fucking better believe that. People are like, you know what the fuck you're doing? I'm like, yeah, but I'll be there every fucking day.